What's going on, everyone? Badass Review here, and today I'll be taking a look at the Walgreens exclusive Punisher figure, part of the Marvel Legends 6-inch figure series. Pretty cool figure, definitely the best Punisher figure we've gotten in terms of Marvel Legends, at least in my opinion. Some people still think maybe the older Toy Biz versions are pretty good, but in terms of looks and articulation, I think this is definitely the best one. Not too much to talk about with this guy. He's pretty plain for the most part, but he does come with a lot of cool gadgets, and he does have some pretty cool features on him, which we'll get into. First off, let's just get over with the accessories. He comes with this, I want to say it's an M16 light machine gun. This was previously released with the first attempt at Punisher that Hasbro did back in the, I want to say, what was that guy's name? He was like the yellow dude. Oh, no. Well, anyways, way back when Hasbro was still trying to make decent figures, but they just weren't. So that comes with that. It's painted green and black. Not too much. I mean, it's got quite a bit of nice sculpting on it, and paint-wise, it's not too terribly bad. Nice to just have some color kind of mixed in instead of just having a completely black weapon or a completely green weapon. Kind of makes it look goofy. He's got this mini little I think it's sub-automatic combat shotgun. Pretty plain as well. It has some decent sculpting to it, and I don't think we've actually seen this before, so that's pretty cool. Painted all white, which I don't particularly like. The fact that anybody be walking around with a completely white shotgun or weapon, period, is just a little silly, but you know, it is what it is, I guess. There is a yellow line that goes across the magazine, or the clip, whatever you want to call it. That's about the only bit of paint detail that thing's got, so that's kind of lame, but I do like the gun. I don't like the color of it. And then finally, he comes with a bazooka, which you can tab onto his back, as you can see here. It's okay looking, doesn't have a whole lot going on with it. The back end of it and the scope are painted black. It is the same bazooka that Deadpool comes with, just a little bit more paint detailing. It's got this yellow band around it. I don't know what it is about him with his guns having yellow on it, but it's there. So that's pretty cool. It doesn't have any kind of attachments, which doesn't really bother me a whole lot, because I always just kind of imagine the missile would be inside the barrel. But you know, you can always stick the end of the boxing glove one that comes with this if you want. So accessory wise, pretty cool. He does come with an alternate head. It's a good sculpt. I don't particularly like it. It's just not a good look, in my opinion. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but I just don't prefer him to look like this. I kind of like this more comic-y looking. I mean, not that this one's not comic-y. It's more realistic to me. This one I just kind of like a little bit better. Not so big on the bandana, but it does kind of grow on me a little bit, and I just kind of like the hair a little bit more, how it's sculpted, and I like the way his face looks. He's got the little grimace. It's not just kind of like, it's not just kind of plain looking. He doesn't look that angry, which is also the other problem. I always just see the Punisher being a really angry guy, so that's kind of why I gear towards more of this one. And I do have the previous Hasbro Marvel Legends Punisher figure that came in the Epic Heroes line, which I'm gonna see how that looks on this body, if it'll fit. But for this head's still pretty good for the most part. Talking about the figure itself, it doesn't have a whole lot going on with it. Like I said, he's pretty much just painted black for the most part, with the skull painted white on him, which you gotta watch out when you're shopping around for them, because there is quite a bit where the paint is really sloppy and the black bleeds through, so you want to watch out for that. They did the smart thing this time, and I hope they start doing this more often, but they actually molded this part down here in white, and then they painted over it with black, which is really nice. It looks really good, not too sloppy at all, and no paint bleeding through the white, so that's really nice. And there's that. They did the same with the boots. They just molded it black down here, considering that it's a separate piece, so it would make sense for them to do that. Talking about the harness he's got on here, it's pretty nice. I don't particularly like the fact that he has it on, but taking it off, he looks kind of weird. It just kind of makes him, somehow this just kind of fills him out a bit in the chest area. I'm not exactly sure why. It just looks a little bit better in my opinion to have it on. And also, he has a really, it's not that he has a long neck, it's that they didn't drill into the heads far enough, so his head kind of sticks up pretty high. It's a lot worse on this one too. It just looks like his neck is extremely long, and then this one doesn't even go in all the way, so his head still kind of is even just kind of sitting up on the ball peg itself. So now he's got this extremely elongated neck. And it might not be too bad for some people, maybe it's just mine, I'm not sure, but it does look a little bit strange to me, and taking this off does kind of make that look a little weirder. But it does look good. It has some nice, not shading, but a nice black wash through it. He's got the little grenades over here, and then he's got some on the front, like rocket grenades that you would shoot. And then he's got some actual hand grenades over here, which are just painted in the dark green. So that's nice. I wish they could have just painted the little ring on it, but you know, no big deal. Coming down to the belt, it's also brown. I would kind of wish they would have done it white, but you know, I guess it's not too big of a deal. I'm curious to see what it would have looked like if it was white. But it does also have some wash going on throughout it as well, which makes it look pretty nice. Almost looks like it is an actual type of material. This piece here is also part of the belt, so it is separate from the actual figure. Some people like it, some people don't. I don't mind it really too much. The only problem with it is that it kind of makes it weird when you turn the waist, because the whole belt ends up just kind of going with it, or it gets kind of wonky. So that's my only real complaint. But I think if you just kind of like push the belt up a little bit, then it'll just kind of move with it, and it's not too big of a deal. But it does look nice, and it does have kind of a bump to it, so I think they sculpted it to make it seem like it was a pouch that he could pull magazines out of, so that's pretty nice. For the rest of the figure, that's about it. He doesn't really have any shading, which I wouldn't really expect any on a figure like this, considering he's all black. Maybe a blue wash in the black would have been kind of nice to make it look a little more snazzy. But otherwise, I'm pretty satisfied for the most part. Taking a look at articulation, he's got a ball peg and a hinge, so he can look up really high. He can look all the way down. Rotates 360 degrees. His arms, they can go in and out, rotate 360 degrees. I really wish Hasbro would fix this body mold. I don't know if I've mentioned that before, but I don't know what it is about this mold. The Captain America mold, or however you want to call it, the Grim Reaper mold, I think is what they mostly call it. I just always have a problem with this arm on every figure, where it just there's too much. I think it's just down too low at the shoulder, and then the shoulders themselves are so big and bulky that it's rubbing up against this, and it's chipping away at the plastic, which might be kind of hard to see. And then you can't really get the arm up all the way, so that kind of sucks. It's never really a problem on this side. I don't find it that it seems too forced to like have to do it, but it still kind of has that problem on this side. I just kind of wish they'd fix that, maybe find a way to make the torso, just this upper torso part, a little bit bigger, or maybe downsize the shoulders and the arms so they're not as large. I'm not quite sure what's a good way to fix that, but if there's a way, that'd be awesome if they could. Coming down to the torso, he does have an ab crunch, which is ratcheted. He can go back about 1 or 2 clicks. he can go forward. Only one click on mine. It just seems, I think it's the belt kind of gets in the way, so that's kind of unfortunate, but it's good enough anyways, and I'm sure there's a way to finagle with it, but that's about as far down as it seems. He's got a rotation at the waist. His legs can go forward and not so far back, just the way his booty is sculpted. His legs can go out about that far, which is a good amount. Rotation at the upper part of the thigh, double jointed knees, rotation in the boot, a hinge in the foot, as well as an ankle pivot and or rocker, however you want to call it. So overall, pretty good figure. Definitely worth picking up, considering that in my opinion, he's probably the best Punisher figure we've ever gotten in terms of Marvel Legends. Downsides, I can't really think of any. I just have a problem with this mold in general, which I wish they would fix. The head sculpt is good, but the peg sits up a little too high, so it makes him look a little funky. And the biggest problem is that, you know, they didn't give him trigger fingers, which is kind of silly considering that this guy primarily uses guns, so you'd think that he would, you know, need hands to like hold things like this. So what you'll probably want to do is get an X-Acto knife, or even just like a regular, you know, flip out knife. And if you're, you know, under 18, be careful, or have an adult do this. I don't condone that, but definitely helps. Kind of, it does look a little funky, and the fingers themselves are thick enough that even if you do cut it, it doesn't look bad, and it's not like it'll rip the whole finger apart. But that's what I did. I just kind of made a small incision between his fingers, and now he can put things in his, or he can, he has a trigger finger now, which it still looks a little funky just because the way the hands are just sculpted in general. But the fact they wouldn't give him you know, sculpted trigger fingers is kind of silly, and really takes this figure down a little bit. It's still worth getting. I wouldn't go online and buy him, just because it still seems like he's pretty expensive online. I just walked into my local Walgreens and he was out, so I just picked him up. They had quite a few too, so I mean, unless you're just not near Walgreens, I wouldn't go online. I would just wait and see if they get them in, because I feel like Walgreens does a pretty good job of getting them out, or at least Hasbro's doing a good job by shipping out in huge quantities so people can get it. So anyways guys, that's my review. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more figure reviews coming up, and check out my previous videos if you haven't already, and leave comments if you have anything to say. Thanks for watching guys. Talk to you later.